Welcome to the Feria TechCast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today, we are joined by Ibeth Ayala, an innovation coach, life design expert, and international best-selling author of No Risk, No Fun, and From the Ground Up. She helps people and teams move from burnout to bold creativity by reconnecting to what matters most. Through storytelling, breathwork, and practical tools, she guides listeners to embrace change, design lives they love, and lead with intention. So, I bet, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ezekiel. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I appreciate it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show today. Ebit, your work sits at a fascinating intersection of, an innovation coach, a life designer, breathwork facilitator. So, for our audience of engineers and builders who love clear systems, what's the core thread that connects these seemingly different disciplines for you?
Thank you. Well, I love the fact that when I was seeing the audience and the mentalities, the mindsets that are listening to these conversations were very engineer focused and, like you said, very process driven, very linear, right? It reminded me of the last 10 years that I've been working in the insurance industry because, believe it or not, in the insurance industry, the mentality is very traditional, very, we've always done it this way, very process driven. There's a claims process, there's, the underwriting process, there's all these processes that everyone has to go through. And in such an industry, one of the things that the people have been wanting to do for the last 10 years that I've been working with them with a lot of dedication is being more innovative, being more creative. And when I meet people that want to be more creative, they first get a little scared and hesitant because they think, well, is this going to be like the Googles that it's going to be like you expect me to just lay and watch TV and get creative, and which is very uncomfortable because most people want to have a very linear methodology, a very clean process. And the answer that I say to these people is no, it's actually the opposite. For us to be innovative, for us to unlock the creativity, perspective, and mindset, we actually have to follow a process. We actually have to follow a model. So, in the last 10 years that I worked with mentalities and mindsets that are very linear focused, very linear thinking, I was able to map out for them a step by step process of how they can actually step into the unknown in a comfortable way through a process that it's so easy. And it starts with humanity, with the human part. So when I think about, whether you're designing your life, designing a new process, redesigning a methodology, redesigning a product, a service, it is so simple if we just go back to the basics of the human side. And for me, that's the thing that connects everyone, the humanity part. And as far as I know, most of us are human, as far as I know.
All right. So you experienced a major burnout and life reset in your 20s. I think that's quite, a general thing majority of people do go through in their 20s. And speaking from someone who's currently in his 20s, yeah. So what did that burnout actually feel like in the moment? Was it a slow fade or a sudden breath or a sudden breaking point?
This is this is going to be a story that is going to be a little different because most people that I know think of burnout as work related. They think of burnout as I am going through burnout because I'm stressed at work. For me, my burnout was in life in general. And just to be clear, in my world, in the way I communicate, there is no life work. There's life. Work happens to be an area of life. And so when I look at it that way, I could tell you that it was in my mid 20s. I was 24, and I there was a situation that happened. I was married at the time. I had been married for 3 years, and for me, 2 months after I got married to that person, the relationship became physically abusive. And for 3 years, I stayed. I stayed for 3 years trying to understand how to fix it, trying to understand myself, trying to understand what was I doing wrong? Because I grew up with the mentality of I can do anything. I I I'm an overachiever. I was, the smart one in the classroom. I learned everything quickly. I was almost a model student, and I grew up with that. I That's how I saw myself. So when my marriage was falling apart and the person I was married to kept saying, "This is who you are, you're making this worse, you bring out the worst in me," I started blaming myself. And it got to the point that I quit university because he would follow me to campus, and if he would see me talking to someone else, it would become an abusive situation at home that evening. So as a result of that, I stopped going to school. Work was very strict. I was very cautious about who do I talk to, how do I communicate with other people, because I didn't want to bring a reason for him to be abusive at home. And all of these little examples, that's just a few examples, but there were more of them. All of these things created for me to feel burnout. I was so stressed. I was so anxious that when I would wake up with fear, with concern, with anxiety. And when I think about people in the professional world, people in the corporate world, people in the working field, a lot of people are experiencing high levels of stress, high levels of anxiety to the point that they're experiencing burnout. And that can bleed into their relationships, into their relationship with themselves, their physical health, mental health, etc. So at 24, I decided that no matter how scared I was, because even though it was scary to be at home, what was scarier in my mind was when I leave, what's going to happen to me? How are people going to judge me? How are people going to see me? What am I going to do about work? How am I going to start from scratch again? I have nothing. And if I think about it, there's a very big similarity to professional people. When they know that the job that they're doing is painful, is stressful, but what's more stressful and painful is not knowing how they're going to make money, how they're going to find their next job, how they're going to do their next career. So that's the similarity of how I saw whether you're experiencing burnout at home in a relationship or experiencing burnout in your office. It's still the same symptoms, it's still the same feeling. So for me in my mid 20s, as much as I feared being judged, being labeled a loser, a failure, I thought it was worth a try because I wanted to be happy. I wanted to live. I wanted to continue to be alive. Asking for a divorce led to me almost losing my life. And so in that moment, I decided I don't care how I'm being seen. I don't care how I'm being judged. I don't care if it all falls apart. I'm worth trying something different. This mindset of I'm going to keep trying, the mindset of I'm just going to do my best. I'm just going to change my behavior. I'm just going to not say anything. It's no longer what I want. I want to live. I want to express myself. I want to go to school. I want to get my degree. And more than anything, I want to feel safe. I want to wake up with purpose. I want to wake up with energy, with joy instead of fear and concerns. So my burnout in my mid 20s was really not wanting to live anymore, not that way. And it took a lot because it meant I had to let go of all of the beliefs I had about what marriage was. I had to let go of all the beliefs of what it was like to fight for a marriage. I had to let go of all the beliefs of what if I'm a failure at 24? What if I will never meet anyone again? What if I'm all alone? I had to let go of that with fear, with concern, but with courage. And that was the first time when I look back in my life, that was the first time that I chose to step into my innovative self, to step into my creative self and take charge and create a process, create a method, create a blueprint of how am I going to get out of this safely so that I can continue to live. So that was my burnout in the mid 20s, Ezekiel. That was it.
Oh, interesting. That was quite an inspiring story. And thanks for sharing it. Moving on, many of our listeners are currently students and early career professionals in high pressure tech environments. So, what are the subtle early warning signs of burnout that they might be dismissing just as being busy?
The early signs may look different for different people. So I want to be clear on that because we all use different terminology, different words. For me, because we are human, I would like to, in addition to share the early signs with words, I would like to include the feeling, being aware of how it feels, how one wakes up, how the person is feeling every day. They think of going to work, the way they feel when they go to a meeting, the way they feel when they go home versus the way they feel when they go to the office or when they are about to join a Zoom call or a Teams call. So I want to be clear on that because sometimes with our humanity, words mean the different things to different people. So I might say, well, someone might feel, sweaty, or someone might start feeling like their heart is going too fast. But for some people, their heart going fast is when they're excited to go to the office. So I want to be very mindful when I explain this, especially for the young people out there, to just be open and listen to the different descriptions that I give to the warnings. So for me, what I have experienced and what I have noticed with the people that I work with, and I have worked with in the last 10 years with over 300 students here in Canada and across the world that are in their, early 20s, mid 20s, getting ready to step into the, working field, if we want to call it that. So some of the signs is the most basic one is lack of engagement. When people are starting to feel like, do I really have to do this? Do I really need to do this? Fear of speaking up. When somebody's is going to present something, when somebody's getting ready to go to a meeting to contribute to some thoughts, but they're hesitating because they're afraid, there's a very red flag right there about stress and burnout. Because most people that hold back, they're feeling anxious and stressed about the outcome. And sadly, it's because they've either experienced something negative the last time they spoke or the last times that they spoke. Someone either dismissed them, made fun of them, ignored them. And that will then become a stress factor. It will become an anxiety related action. And when we think about fear of failure, especially in the world where everybody's expected to be more innovative, the word innovation has been used so much in the last 10 years. And nowadays, more than ever, it's incredible. And it's expected that we're all innovative with an innovative solution, with an innovative lookout, with an innovative perspective. And what that happens is those expectations become very confusing and very unclear. And confusion and lack of clarity is a huge red flag again that will start creating stress. Okay. So if we think about these simple first signs, as simple as they seem, they're very crucial because as human beings, we want to feel safe. As human beings, we want to feel heard. We want to feel seen. We want to feel like we're contributing, and we want to feel like what we contribute, it's valued. Because when all of those things are taken care of, then we feel like we belong in a team. When these 5 things are ignored, little by little, as human beings, we start feeling rejected, ignored, disrespected, and that then starts creating a sense of distance, separation, disconnect, and that leads very quickly to anxiety, to stress. And when the stress levels become so high, it will then lead to the burnout that people then feel. That feeling of, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't have it in me. Waking up and instead of saying, I'm grateful for my job, I'm grateful for my team, they wake up seeing stress. They wake up feeling tired already. They wake up feeling scared. So the red flags, the early signs is all of that death that people feel within themselves. The joy is dying, the creativity is dying, their voice is dying. And all that lives in there is stress, sadness, worry, confusion, lack of clarity. And sadly enough, if not taken care of early, it'll lead to disengagement, disconnection, and that is the worst place to be because when those things kick in, then they feel like they have no one to talk to, they have nowhere to go, and it becomes heavier and heavier and heavier, especially in the younger generation where they're still learning how to express themselves, how to communicate, how to ask for help. So those I would say would be the earliest signs leading to the middle, leading to the extreme, leading to full on burnout.
All right, Ibeth, that was really insightful. So I'd like us to talk about what you call the connect, create, and try framework. So tell us about it, and also, you could maybe tell us how an engineer trained to just build the solution, can first connect and follow these framework you're about to lay ahead of us now.
Yes. So connect, create, try is my 3-step methodology of designing a life that you love. And I based it on a summation of what I had to do in my mid 20s to get out of an unhealthy relationship. And what I had to do to get out of an unhealthy relationship is I had to connect with myself. I had to listen deeply to what do I need? What do I want? How do I feel? What am I afraid of? What am I concerned about? What stories am I creating? And there's a deep conversation that goes in there about getting to know myself. Once I have that understanding, I then have more clarity on what are the challenges I'm facing. So then I can create next steps that I can try until I figure out what is the best thing to get out or what's the best thing to support me to move forward. And when I realized I was doing that in my life, I started repeating that over and over and over. Whether it was finding a job, choosing to stay in a job, starting a relationship, whether you believe it or not, and it just continued. When I started the innovation journey with insurance people, I immediately brought in the design thinking methodology. And the design thinking methodology, it's a 5-step methodology of empathy. You empathize, you define the problem, you design some solutions, you create a prototype, and you test it out. So it's a 5-step process that literally invites people to go out and empathize with the customer. And the customer can be the end user. The customer can also be, if you're trying to improve a process within an organization, you want to empathize with the people that are going to be impacted by that process, right? So the empathy part is the human part. And then you start identifying what really is the problem. Then you start to identify, okay, how can we make this better? And once you have some solutions, you start mapping it out in a high level blueprint. And then you go and you test it out and you see, does this work or not? So what I came to realize is design thinking, innovation, it's part of who we are as human beings. We are curious by nature. We want to try new things. Engineers, as far as I understand, they're always trying to try things to make things better, make improvements. And you look at things and you reflect on how can it be better? What can we do to make it better? What can we do to make it leaner, more efficient, more productive? So connect, create, try is a very simplified way of looking at a challenge, a situation with the intention of making it better. And one thing that I always tell people and engineers might appreciate is when we're trying to find a solution to a problem or we want to create a new product for a customer, we look at the customer, and right now, another word that's very popular is customer experience. We want to make sure that the experience for that customer is optimal, is amazing. With connect, create, try, we're doing the same thing. The difference is the customer is you. When I was redesigning my life, I looked at it as I'm the customer and I am creating an experience for myself. So, of course, I need to empathize with myself. Of course, I need to understand what the problem is. Of course, I'm going to go and interview myself to understand that. And when we start seeing life from that perspective, it makes it easier. And then it makes sense that we need to try and we need to figure out ways to go out there and make life better, not just for ourselves, but for the loved ones that we have, our parents, our siblings, our children, spouses, the community that we live in, and of course, in the greater scheme of things, the world that we're part of. So connect, create, try, it's really based on, you know, the design thinking methodology. I didn't know it at the time when I was 24. I was just listening to what do I want to what do I want to learn about myself? How can I connect to myself? And then I need to create a way to get out of this, and I just have to try this. This is worth a try. I keep saying that. This is worth a try. This is worth a try. And like I said, fast forward to some years, it was really amazing to see how that methodology has just been used for decades, really, since the industrial era. Um, but anyway, point of the story is, as you can see, there's a process, there's a methodology that anyone can use for work, for their life. And it's very simple. It just goes back to the humanity side. Yeah.
All right, that was very insightful. So, you talk about the human side of innovation as something teams often get wrong here. So, from your work with executives and creatives, what is the most common mistake technical teams make rather, that stifles their own creativity?
The biggest mistake I dare to say is lack of communication. The biggest mistake is, let's say you and I are a team now and we show up and we don't have a clear understanding of expectations, of our long term goal, what tools we're going to use. And I see it over and over. People tend to hire new people and expect them to innovate. I'm going to hire you, Ezekiel, and your job is going to innovate. And then Ezekiel may not want to look bad or inexperienced. So Ezekiel's not going to ask, what do you mean with innovate? What does that look like? What does that sound like? Ezekiel's going to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to innovate. And then next thing we know, we're put in a room with a bunch of other people, and now nobody really talks to each other. Everyone's just expecting or hoping that something magical is going to happen. And I see this time and time again. When it comes to teams, nobody takes the time, or very, very few people take the time to really bring the team together, to really bring the mindsets, the perspectives, the humans in the room together to understand the purpose, the intention, the resources, the expected outcome. And they just want to ignore that because a long time ago that was seen as soft skills that nobody has time for. but it's those soft skills that make the foundation stronger and more solid. So, in my opinion, in my perspective, that is the biggest mistake. Lack of communication, lack of investment in bringing the team together, not forcing them together, more than just doing a, you know, what do they call this? Let's go out and do a team building activity. It's more than a team building activity. It has to be very, very human. It has to be to the core. Don't get me wrong. It's fun to do team building activities. Let's go bowling. Let's do, something fun. But people are missing the actual human aspect of it. I've seen it time and time again. So, in my opinion, I would say that's the biggest mistake.
Okay. So moving on, I'd like to talk about something a bit different, which I hinted on in your introduction. So, I'd like to talk about breath work here. So, breath work might seem abstract to someone who deals in cold and concrete results. Yeah. So, can you give us a short, breathing technique that a developer or say an engineer could use right before a stressful meeting to reset their focus?
Of course, I can. And that is something that, yeah, everybody forgets. And remember, earlier I was talking about the early signs of burnout, and I walked you through the early signs, the stress, the full on anxiety, and then, of course, the burnout. Without learning how to breathe or without breathing properly, we are often making the big mistake of breathing wrong that actually increases our anxiety, increases our stress, and increases our chances of shutting down our creativity, shutting down our solution perspective. So, breathing is definitely important. It's definitely key. There are several techniques that people can apply to help themselves be more focused. There's different techniques. There's techniques to help you energize. There's techniques that help you calm down when you're too hyper and you need to relax. There's techniques that can help you stay focused, stay grounded. There's techniques that can help you go to sleep. And the reason I'm saying all these things is because the technique I'm going to show you right now is one that I have been trying with different people, different groups, in different settings, and it never fails. It always brings people back to normal. And it's very simple. There's one commonly known as box breathing. I noticed that one can be a little confusing for people. So unless you practice it all the time, it can feel like, oh, I forgot how to box breathe, and then it becomes anxiety again. But this one I'm going to show you is the one that I've seen works wonders. And Ezekiel, if you want to breathe with me as I do this, then I can ask you how you feel. So, rule of thumb, in essence, we always want to breathe through our nose if we can help it. Ideally, we will always want to keep our mouth closed and our nose is the only thing that breathes. However, in this exercise, we're going to inhale through the nose and we're going to exhale through the mouth. Okay? So just remember that. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And when you inhale through the nose, the only thing that's going to get big is your belly. So if people can just casually put their hand on their stomach, don't tighten it. This is not a workout for your core. Don't get it all tight and show your 6-pack, 4-pack, whatever pack you have. Just let it be, soft and yummy. Just soft and yummy, like a baby. And remember, when you inhale, that belly is going to expand. And when you exhale through your mouth, that belly is going to deflate like a balloon. So here we go. We're going to inhale through the nose to the count of 4. And it's going to look like this. Inhale and exhale through the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. And inhale again. 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale in through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth and out and in and out. And we did this less than 30 seconds. But Ezekiel, I'm curious, what was that like for you?
Okay, so firstly, I've heard about the boxed breathing before, and I regularly apply it, when I'm about to have, let's say, a moment where I would normally be anxious about to relax my mind. But all those time while applying the boxed breathing, I do normally inhale with my nose and exhale again with my nose. So this new technique you just made me try out now, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. I noticed that it kind of made me relax a whole lot. Not that I was anxious at first, but I just had this really, really fresh reset, just a very calm feeling inside of me after doing it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, and that's the beauty of it. Like I said, we were breathing less than 30 seconds. And what that does is I noticed the reason why this feels a little bit more welcoming and easier for anyone to just remember is because we're trying to breathe in a conscious way. But for the most part, we always have our mouth open and we constantly are either holding our breath or breathing through our mouth when we walk, when we're tired, right? So, in a situation where you're highly stressed and you want to calm down, we don't want to overcomplicate it. I don't want you to panic because let's be honest, when you do box breathing, you have to inhale for 4, hold for 4, and some people panic when they're holding their breath because they're like, I can't breathe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I can relate to that.
Yeah. Unless you practice every day, it feels really tricky. And then you exhale and then you have to hold on empty for 4. And people are like, what if I die? Like you're already stressed. The last thing you want to worry about is what if I die here? So what I
Yeah.
noticed, yeah, what I noticed is with a 4 in, 4 out, in through the nose, out through the mouth, it invites people to calm down, quickly calm down in something that feels a little more natural for their everyday thing. Like I said, rule of thumb is you always want to inhale and exhale through your nose because the nose is designed for that. There's the little hairs in our nostrils are designed to protect us the way our nose is shaped. Some people have really big nostrils, some people have smaller nostrils, some noses are higher, some noses are more flat. There's a reason for all of that. Okay. However, like I said, if you desperately need to calm down, this is my go to. In through your nose, out through your mouth. In for 4, out for 4. And you, like you said, Ezekiel, you start feeling like, oh, this is really nice. Now, at nighttime, when you want to go to sleep, you can even inhale for 4 and you exhale slowly to like the count of 8. And that takes you even deeper. And like I said, there's
Mm.
other techniques. And I run a 20-minute basics of breathing or breathwork basics online, every 2 months or so. And in those 20 minutes, I explain to people why it matters to breathe. And then I show 5 to 6 different techniques that people can take away that show them the count and what they're good for. So, but again, this is my go to. This is like water. If you're thirsty and you really, really want to hydrate, water is your basic one. For me, 4 in, 4 out, in through the nose, out through the mouth is my basic one, is my go-to.
Oh, well, that's a really, really nice breathing technique there, I must say. And thank you for sharing it with us today, Ebeth. So, moving on, if you could give one piece of advice to every young person entering a STEM field today, to enable them protect their creativity and well-being to foster innovation. So what would it be?
Yes, let's remind young people that creativity matters. One of the first things I tell people when I run sessions is today we're going to let your younger version come out and play. And what I mean with your younger version or your inner child, I mean, not the 7-year-old, not the 6-year-old. We're going down to like the 4-year-old, the 3-year-old. And the reason I say that is yes, so let's empower the young people. Yes, 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 yes. So for the creativity to continue to live, because in my opinion, the creativity is part of who we are. It's part of our DNA. We are here to be creatives. We're constantly creating things. You and I are creators right now. We're creating a conversation. We're creating a space for others. The ones listening right now with us are creating an experience, a memory. So we are constantly creating. And so one of the things that I do when I work with people virtually, in person, students, executives, is the same reminder. I tell everybody, today we're going to work with a younger version of ourselves. And when I mean younger, I mean the inner child. And when I say inner child, I don't mean the 7-year-old or the 6-year-old. I'm going down to like the 3-year-old, the 4-year-old. And the reason I do that is because at the age of 2, 3, 4, we are so creative. We're learning how to speak, how to express ourselves. We're experiencing our hands. We have more knowledge on how to control our grasp and how to build things and color things. And the most important thing is most of us have not gone to school yet. It is when we go to school, kindergarten, pre-K, first grade, depending on our school, depending on the community, depending on the teachers. Sometimes most of us are crushed because the teachers will tell us, stop daydreaming. Don't color like that. Color inside. An elephant's not pink. Make it gray. A tree is not yellow. Make it green. And they're trying to limit the creativity that we have. So that is something that as human beings, again, the human side, we had to adjust those things to survive. We had to adjust those things to not get in trouble, to not get, you know, in problems at home, to not get yelled at school, to not get made fun of. So little by little, as we got older, from the age of 5, 6, we started shutting down our creativity. So for the young people listening, you are free now. Even if you're in university, you're already an adult. You can choose how you fuel your creativity. And different ways to do that, of course, breathwork. I run breathwork sessions once a month that people can join, and we clear that programming of you're not supposed to color, you're not supposed to do. We clear all that out. Coloring, dancing, go out and sit in nature. Look at the trees, look at the sky. Like when you were little, like when we were little, and we would look at the sky and at the clouds and be like, "Oh, that looks like a dog, and that looks like an airplane," and that we want back, and we can bring it back because now you don't have a teacher yelling at you. Now you don't have a parent yelling at you. Or maybe you do, but don't tell them. You can still go out there and be fun and be creative. But in essence, do the things that you loved doing when you were a child. Give yourself permission to do that. Try new things. Fuel that
Hmm.
creativity. It's our biggest gift.
All right, Edith, that's pretty insightful. Very, very, very great insights on that. So finally, to wrap things up for our listeners who want to explore these ideas further, where's the best place for them to find your books and that breathwork basics handouts that you offer, or generally maybe just follow you and get to see more of your work daily.
Yes. So you can definitely go to my website, innovision.coach. See, there goes creativity. I didn't go with .com.ca. It's innovision that coach. And Ezekiel, I'm sure you'll put it on the description because it's also not innovation, it's an innovative vision. So it's innovision.coach.
Oh,
On there you can
yeah.
find link. Yeah, it's not innovation.coach, it's innovision, an innovative vision.coach. On there you can find the links to my social media. And you can also download a free recording of the 20-minute session that I talked about breathing, and also a free download of the techniques that you can do. You can see the events that I have coming up if there's anything you're interested. And for your listeners specifically, there's a link on there to schedule a 30-minute call with me. I can help you with anything, whether you want to learn how to breathe better, whether you want to talk about your life. It's it's a complimentary session for you. So just feel free to go on there and yeah, let's stay connected. I'd love to meet some of the young people out there. You are the future. We're already the future, the past, and we're in the present. So let's continue to collaborate together.
Wonderful, wonderful, Ibeth. It's been a really insightful and engaging conversation with you, and I'm excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you to you as well. And you made it very easy and fun and engaging to have this conversation. So I really appreciate what you do. You're doing amazing things. Thank you.
Thank you very much.